Hello, everyone. Today's news spotlight features several key figures, each of significant weight, standing at the epicenter of current global and domestic developments. The first is none other than the global leading man, Donald Trump. Today, the world's media is fixated on Trump's failure to secure the Nobel Peace Prize. But in reality, he has even more explosive news. Trump posted a statement declaring the complete collapse of the Trump-Xi summit, and not only has it collapsed, but he is also set to reignite the trade war. What exactly is happening behind the scenes? The second figure is Hu Haifeng. Over the past 6 months, Hu Haifeng has suddenly become unusually high-profile, transforming from a figure avoided like the plague to a highly sought-after commodity. The latest official news today shows he's becoming almost excessively prominent, as this fourth-ranking Vice Minister of Civil Affairs has overshadowed the full minister. What signal does this send us? The third key figure is Zhang Youxia, arguably the most critical player at the fourth plenary session. Rumors suggest he is in a state of heightened alertness, ready for action, and the military newspaper has also issued unusual signals. For the current Chinese Communist Party, CCP, this is a moment of converging internal and external crises, with power struggles and existential threats intertwining. What happens next? I'm afraid no one can say for certain. Today is October 10th, Eastern Time, which also marks Taiwan's double 10th National Day. First, I'd like to wish our friends in Taiwan a happy holiday. With historic changes unfolding before our eyes, please subscribe to Tang Jingyuan's channel, and I encourage everyone to like and share our program to let more people see what's happening in the world and why it's happening. The most explosive news today, without a doubt, is Trump's post. The moment it was published, it sent shockwaves globally, even causing a rare plunge in the US dollar. The reason is straightforward. US-China relations have taken a sharp nosedive, and a new war is about to begin. This morning, Trump suddenly posted a lengthy message on Truth Social, instantly shaking the world. The key points of the post are as follows. Something very strange is happening in the CCP. They've suddenly become extremely hostile, sending letters to countries worldwide announcing export controls on every production element related to rare earths, even those not manufactured in China. Over the past 6 months, US-China relations have been positive, but this sudden move is insidious and hostile. The CCP must not be allowed to hold the world hostage, especially since this action comes on the very day when peace was achieved in the Middle East for the first time in 3,000 years. I can't help but wonder if this timing is merely coincidental. As a result, I did not speak with President Xi Jinping, as there was no reason to do so. I had planned to meet with President Xi in 2 weeks at the APEC summit in South Korea, but now it seems unnecessary. The United States will be forced to implement financial countermeasures, and plans are currently underway to significantly increase tariffs on goods from China. Additionally, many other countermeasures are under serious consideration. The backdrop to Trump's fiery outburst against Xi Jinping is the CCP's Ministry of Commerce unexpectedly issuing 2 announcements on October 9th regarding rare earth export controls. Citing national security and interests, the ministry significantly expanded restrictions on processing technologies and imposed export limits to foreign defense and semiconductor manufacturers. According to the announcements, all products using Chinese rare earths outside China, or rare earth items produced abroad using Chinese technology, including equipment for recycling rare earths, must obtain a dual-use export license from China in advance. Export applications for overseas military users, as well as those on the CCP's export control and watch lists, including subsidiaries or branches with 50% or more ownership by these entities, will, in principle, be denied. Additionally, export applications for designing, developing, producing, or using weapons of mass destruction, their delivery systems, terrorism purposes, military uses, or enhancing military capabilities will also be denied in principle. The announcements further impose export controls on 5 new types of rare earths and their production technologies, effective December 1st, coinciding with the expiration of the 90-day US-China trade truce. In short, The CCP aims to exert long-arm jurisdiction over all global production related to Chinese rare earths, not just targeting a single link in the supply chain, but choking the entire industry. The goal is to seize the initiative and secure key leverage before the trade truce ends, even at the cost of derailing the Trump-Xi summit. The leverage here goes beyond just rare earths. Another card played was a direct blow to Qualcomm. Today, China's State Administration for Market Regulation announced that Qualcomm, a U.S. semiconductor giant, failed to report its acquisition of Israeli startup Autodox, allegedly violating China's anti-monopoly law. As a result, an investigation into Qualcomm has been launched. The news caused Qualcomm's stock to plummet by over 4%. Last time, it was NVIDIA under investigation. Now it's Qualcomm's turn. The signal is clear. All major U.S. companies operating in China could become targets for the CCP, ready to be dragged out and pummeled whenever needed, showing the world who's boss, whether it's the shop bullying the customer or the customer bullying the shop. The third card, also played today, was an announcement from the CCP's Ministry of Transport. Starting next Tuesday, October 14th, U.S. ships docking at Chinese ports will be charged a special port service fee of 400 yuan per net ton. This fee will increase annually, reaching 1,120 yuan per net ton starting April 17, 2028. This move is retaliatory. Earlier on April 17th, the U.S. Trade Representative's Office announced final measures from a Section 301 investigation into China's maritime, logistics, and shipbuilding sectors, imposing port service fees on Chinese-owned or operated ships, Chinese-built ships, and Chinese-flagged ships starting October 14th. Objectively speaking, this appears to be a tit-for-tat retaliation, but in reality, it's far from equivalent and largely symbolic. Over the past 20 years, China has become the world's largest shipbuilding nation. Last year, Chinese shipyards built over 1,000 commercial vessels, while the U.S. built fewer than 10, with most U.S. ships constructed by Japan or South Korea. Thus, this measure is essentially a scratch on the U.S., but for China, it's a genuine blow, costing billions in additional fees. Of course, the U.S. doesn't really care about a few $billion in petty cash. The real point is that this series of moves signals a 180-degree shift in the CCP's approach to U.S.-China economic relations, akin to launching an economic blitzkrieg, catching the U.S. off guard, and hitting its semiconductor Pearl Harbor. Even a seasoned veteran like Trump was blindsided, exclaiming that very strange things are happening. Why is this happening? What exactly are these strange events? First, we can confirm one obvious fact. This series of aggressive moves against the U.S. starkly contrasts with the CCP's recent gestures of reconciliation. Previously, the CCP made significant concessions to the U.S. on several major issues. First, TikTok was quickly sold to the U.S. at a heavily discounted price, almost half price, with major concessions on its algorithm. Second, Premier Li Qiang announced that China would relinquish its developing nation status at the WTO, giving Trump significant face. Third, Li Qiang privately met with numerous U.S. political and economic elites, reviving Wang Yang's U.S.-China couple theory, signaling a major shift in the CCP's stance on U.S.-China disputes, moving away from confrontation and competition toward complementary and harmonious coexistence. This was why Trump was in such high spirits, repeatedly expressing his intent to meet Xi Jinping and show off their camaraderie. But no one expected that, just as rumors of serious setback for Xi emerged from the fourth plenary session, and right after Trump secured the Israel-Palestinian peace deal, boosting his international prestige, the CCP blindsided him with a barrage of punches. While Trump, the seasoned master, wasn't knocked out, he was certainly left dazed, likely cursing as he dictated his post to his aides. In other words, it's clear that two distinct lines have emerged within the CCP leadership. One seeks to ease tensions with the U.S. through compromises to alleviate pressure and navigate the economic crisis gradually. The other is determined to confront the U.S. head-on, escalating tit-for-tat measures, even if it means mutual destruction, sacrificing 3,000 of their own to take down 300 of the enemy. In simple terms, one is playing the good cop, the other the bad cop. So who is playing these roles? Theoretically, there are three possibilities. 1. Xi Jinping is playing both roles. 2. The elders want to play the good cop, but she insists on playing the bad cop in opposition. Or 3. The elders are playing both roles, engaging in a double game to let Xi take the fall while they reap the benefits. Which is the most likely? Personally, I believe the first possibility is the least likely, as it assumes she has complete control, which contradicts a wealth of objective evidence. Given Xi's stubborn nature, even if he were to soften his stance, he's unlikely to use Wang Yang's couple theory, which he despises. Relatively speaking, I believe the second possibility is the most probable. This series of aggressive moves is likely a landmine she planted long ago, designed to detonate and create chaos if the situation turned unfavorable. The goal is to maximize disorder, as only in chaos can she find opportunities. While she may have lost core power, his loyalists still influence many ministries, and most officials at this level are unaware of the highest level developments, giving Xi some room to maneuver. In plain terms, as long as a war with the US breaks out, the CCP will have to rely on Xi's loyalist power structure to respond, allowing Xi to potentially regain control, at least partially, over party and state affairs, while also influencing the discourse at the fourth plenary session. What does this mean? The original agenda of the fourth plenary session was to discuss major personnel changes and the 15th five-year plan. But with the US-China war breaking out, the agenda must be shelved to address the immediate crisis. Personnel disputes are internal, but a US-China conflict is an external enemy, taking priority. From this perspective, Xi's disruptive move is reminiscent of Deng Xiaoping's war against Vietnam to seize military power. The third possibility is logically plausible. If Xi has completely lost power, the elders could use him as a scapegoat to play the bad cop, creating leverage, then step in as the good cop to strike a new deal with Trump, letting Xi take all the blame. The elders, despite opposing Xi, are still on the CCP ship and must protect their interests in US-China negotiations. However, I believe this is less likely than the second scenario, as it's a high-risk strategy. It requires absolute control over Xi and his loyalists and carries the risk of things spiraling out of control. Trump's reactions are beyond the elders' control, and if he retaliates heavily, the consequences may not be easily undone by playing the good cop later. This high-risk, high-reward approach doesn't align with the cautious style of elders like Wen Jiabao or Wang Yang. Moreover, Trump's decision not to meet Xi was likely made before this barrage of moves, suggesting he may already know about Xi's true situation, possibly tipped off by the elders. In this context, playing a double game seems less likely. Regardless, as the fourth plenary session approaches, the elders must gradually release clearer signals. And a key figure in this is Hu Jintao's son, Hu Haifeng. Hu Haifeng has recently become a bellwether for the elders' comeback, frequently appearing in high-profile party media. Today, Xinhua reported that the State Council Information Office held a press conference on the 14th five-year plan, attended by Minister of Civil Affairs Lu Ziyuan, Vice Ministers Li Changwan, Hu Haifeng, and Lu Jinghua. Hu Haifeng, representing the ministry, stated that it had rectified 75,000 zombie social organizations and cracked down on over 8,000 illegal ones. Notably, despite Lu Ziyuan and Li Changwan outranking Hu Haifeng, official media outlets like China News Service, Daily Economic News, Shanghai Observer, Beijing Daily's Chang'an Street Insider, and Beijing Youth Daily's Political Insight, WeChat accounts highlighted only Hu Haifeng in their headlines. In Daily Economic News, both Hu Haifeng and Lu Ziyuan discussed social organizations, but whose content was placed before Lu's, with equal coverage. China News Service went further with a headline about central fiscal support for social organizations during the 14th five-year plan, but the entire article mentioned only Hu Haifeng, ignoring Lu Ziyuan and the other vice ministers. It's worth noting that Lu Ziyuan is a member of the 20th Central Committee, while Hu Haifeng is merely a fourth-ranking vice ministerial official. To say Hu Haifeng outshone his boss is no exaggeration. It's highly abnormal and violates the standard protocols of party media reporting. This abnormality has occurred repeatedly, from Hu's high-profile appearance at the Lujiazui Financial Forum, to CCTV giving him close-up shots at the Xinjiang conference, to the Turkish ambassador's high-profile visit and gift-giving to Hu, and now to Hu dominating the State Council press conference. This clearly shows the true influence of the elders behind him. Releasing such reports before the fourth plenary session is clearly a stabilizing signal that the elders are still in control, so stay calm. However, no matter how much the elders project control, Zhang Youxia dares not relax. Reliable sources indicate that Zhang is currently working at the August 1st building during the day, but not returning home at night, instead staying at the Beijing Xishan Wartime Command Center, in a state of full wartime readiness. His sole focus is waiting for the fourth plenary session to conclude before he can rest easy. This aligns with our analysis of Zhang Youxia's situation. From any angle, Zhang cannot afford to bet everything on the elders, especially given the possibility that Hu Jintao and others might prioritize party unity and delay power transitions. Zhang must prepare for the worst. Xi's sudden trade war against Trump is a serious warning. Today, he can start a trade war with Trump. Tomorrow, he might incite his loyalists to spark conflicts in the Taiwan Strait, South China Sea, or East China Sea against Taiwan, the Philippines, or Japan. As long as Xi remains in his position, he could leverage a major crisis to stage a comeback. For Zhang Youxia, even if he neutralizes Xi at the fourth plenary session, Xi might still secure a safe retirement due to his status as the fifth-generation leader, as the elders must ensure this to preserve party stability. But if Zhang fails to neutralize Xi, he and his allies face certain doom. This is not an equal contest, which is why I say Zhang Youxia's position is both the most critical and the most precarious.